I ordered a dish which ostensibly was vegetarian the other day, which came with rice. As I was eating it, I was kind of astonished to find pieces of chicken therein. I kind of felt like shaking the cook and being like, well, look, you know, chicken is not a vegetable, mate. But there you go. Hold here for a sec. This is the one downside of these roads. Pretty difficult to traverse. Oh gosh. Pretty difficult to traverse when they're busy. And as you can probably tell, I get fairly fed up with taxi drivers beeping. I think they operate on the assumption out here that by beeping you will suddenly take greater interest in getting a taxi. Well, let it be known that that's not how it works. What you're going to do though, it's just how it is. This is a very decent, I think this is my favourite museum here, Museo de Arte Precolombino. Yeah, really extensive, full of very interesting stuff, and it kind of examines a lot of material, even kind of pre-Inca, really, quite extensively pre-Inca. So it's a great place. I do love a good museum. Right, let's check my time. Okay. So, as you've probably seen, a lot of dogs in the streets, which is fine, and a lot of them are pretty adorable, but equally you have got to be slightly wary of them. The city has an initiative where they vaccinate the dogs against rabies, and those dogs that have had that will have a green collar, but unfortunately you see an awful lot of dogs with no green collar, so it's anyone's guess whether they do or don't have rabies. On the whole, I suspect that it's not an epidemic, that it's quite rare, but nonetheless, if you do come to Peru, I hasten to add, I do strongly, if you want to stay in Cusco particularly for a long time, I strongly recommend you get the base rabies jabs, because I have heard more than one story of people being bitten, and you do not want that, because I mean, obviously you don't want that anyway, you don't want to be bitten, but nonetheless, something to be aware of is that it's very hard to get the base injections for rabies over here. You can get the injections that you need on top of the base injections in South America, but it's much harder to get the kind of ones that you need as a kind of preliminary set. So be very careful. In fact, one of the guys I went hiking with, his sister got bitten and she didn't have the base injections, and she had to leave the country prematurely to go home so she could get the full course. I mean, it's just not worth the risk. Appreciating that injections are expensive, unfortunately.
Sir, excuse me, come on.
But yeah, you can't take a risk on stuff like that. It is just worth getting immunised against all and sundry while you're out here. Here are the alpaca. A lot of the native women sell craft, and equally they will, let's go down here, will equally pose for photographs for a fee if you wish it out here. You may have seen the meme going around about the woman dressed in native garb and her daughter and an alpaca getting into a taxi. And the funny thing is, like, that's something you'll just see. I mean, I haven't, fair enough, I haven't seen someone taking an alpaca into a taxi, but I mean, I can totally believe it happened. It's an interesting place. There's a lot of taxis, so I imagine if they're having a tight day, they'll probably be up for you know, taking livestock with them along the way. Very surreal though. You imagine ordering an oh man, what are they called, an Uber in the UK, and being like, yeah, I've got a cow, is that alright? You know, you brought this minivan, so you know, I'll pop the cow in the back, will be really I've got this sheep, this goat, why not, you know? Of course, the other thing you see in abundance is the koi, the guinea pigs, and of course it is probably more as a tourist thing than anything. It's a delicacy over here to eat guinea pig. But I tell you what, I mean, obviously I don't eat guinea pig as a vegetarian, but I tell you what, if you were so inclined, you'd you'd be paying a few pennies for it, because they do, from what I've seen on the menus, they're quite expensive. It's a bit like ordering lobster in the UK, you know. It's not a kind of cheap and cheerful snack eating a koi. You have to pay good money for one. I guess people eat them for the novelty. Couldn't tell you what it tasted like. Like the millions of other things people say taste like chicken, it probably tastes like chicken. I don't know. This is the Avenida del Sol. This is kind of the big road that takes you further into the more modern half of town. Connects with Avenida de Cultura, which is a very long road. But yeah, useful to know about, and it has a few sites along the way. And we're actually heading to San Pedro Market, which is kind of where I'll tie things up. If I can get across this road. Oh man, zebra crossings do not mean the same thing over here. They're a suggestion rather than something you just cross at your leisure. You know, it's very weird. Oh boy. And they are really not letting us go today. Finally. Good grief. Okay. Yeah. So heading towards the market. And if you are doing Cusco on a shoestring, you can eat very comfortably in this market. The places there will do kind of egg and chips and all sorts for a fraction of what you'd pay in a restaurant. Average of about 5 soles for a bowl of soup and egg and chips or something to that effect. And you know, 5 soles, to give you an idea, well, 4 soles is Last I checked, just under £1. Probably just over $1. So I mean, it's a trivial cost. Also, circa to the market, you will find people selling churros fresh, and man, they are good. I love churros, so good. Now this is quite a commercial road, where people will simultaneously offer you tattoos, massages, cocaine and marijuana. Word to the adventurous, though, insofar as you might be interested to try the hard drugs, or the soft drugs for that matter, be careful. Rumour has it that a lot of these people that will offer you stuff on the street are actually being backhanded by the state, and that they will grass you up, presumably for money, if you try and ask for cocaine or whatever. So if you're after that sort of thing, probably safer to you know, make some friends around here and then find out who's a good dealer, because you do not want to go to prison in Latin America. I'll leave it at that. For my own sins, I'm not really that interested in hard drugs. So, well, or pot, to be honest. I'm quite happy living without such things. I don't even drink these days. I just don't need it. But yeah, if you do, just air of caution. Just because someone says they'll sell you pot doesn't mean that you know, you'll be getting all you expected from it. This guy and his sign seems to be out here every weekend. Let's see if I can post some pictures up of some of the stuff he says. Is quite interesting. Seems to be quite kind of campaigning for more respect for indigenous religions, more respect for women, which is never a bad thing, especially in a socially conservative country like Peru. But I imagine statements that could be construed quite poorly by the government and people, because this is a Roman Catholic country, and as such they're not going to be too thrilled necessarily about people kind of saying, oh yeah, you know, we should go back to older systems of faith. So yeah, San Pedro is the market just there. Looks like it's pretty chock-a-block today. Oh. I'm gonna circle round. And actually, do you know what? Probably just take a quick tour around the market interior, because it's quite an interesting place. Obviously I won't run in it, so I will probably annoy some people if I do, but yeah, I'll show you what's kind of on offer. So this tarpaulined area has popped up recently. Interestingly, it's last I checked, it was fairly kind of like for the local stuff, you know, lots of shoes, but not kind of shoes with patterns, very much just kind of shoes that you might buy in whatever place. But there was a stall back there that looked like it might be more geared at tourists, but maybe it's a mishmash.
Pisotea rápidamente el suelo y lanza su segundo ataque.
So yeah, that's an additional plot. Now, if I can, if it's humanly possible, I will try and get us into San Pedro. Bit of luck, you'll be able to see some of it. I've got a feeling it's going to be pretty busy today. Okay, no, it's doable. Yeah, so see, it's full to the brim with jumpers. I think there's the pretense that a lot of it is from alpaca, but actually alpaca jumpers are, to my knowledge, from what people have told me, quite expensive. Things that you see here are, I think, largely synthetics or a mixture, which isn't to say they're not lovely. I mean, one of the things I've been struck by in Peru is just how many awesome jumpers and jackets and hats you can buy, how many nice bags. It is just full to the brim. And like I say, you know, at the other end of the market you can eat pretty well for 5 soles, which is just bonkers cheap. I cooked for myself last night just for a change, really, and because I really fancied some pasta pesto. You know, it's one of my kind of old staples of my kind of week, and honestly I think it probably cost quite a bit more than coming here for egg and chips or whatever. It's yeah, I mean, you can eat very well here, and someone else will do the cooking if you so wish. But I kind of miss cooking, you know, and it's nice that I have the option of a kitchen in the place I'm currently staying. The family seem to be very cool and very sweet. This is local cheese, and they cut the cheese in patterns. You get these huge wheels of bread, and these breads here, I don't know if you could see that, but they have kind of they look like kind of babies cocooned in the bread. As you can see, mantequilla, more cheese than you can poke a stick at, bricks of cheese, very cool. And plenty of herbs and sundry things, wooden spoons, pan pipes. Oh, you see pan pipes everywhere, that's for sure. And you see kind of ukuleles or equivalent native instruments. There are kind of instruments that are not dissimilar to a mandolin, actually, that I've seen folks playing on the street. And this is a type of corn that you can buy very inexpensively. It's like sweet corn, but it's a much it's a kind of firmer texture, a slightly more savoury texture. It's really good though. If you know, in terms of if you wanted kind of 2 courses for your day set up for you, you could come here, have that sweet corn as a lunchtime thing, because it's pretty substantial, you know, maybe with a piece of fruit if you need it. And then for dinner, again, come here and this kind of food court area. You know, the folks here are all in competition, and the food is just a, you know, 5 soles or thereabouts. It's a neat market for sure. Cool, okay, well, let's see if I can pick my way through going out this way. So the last jaunt is uphill, and it's a fairly plain run from here to where I'm staying, so I think I'm going to round off this vlog here. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll probably run another one of these my next destination in a few weeks. In the meantime, I'll try and finish off doing the walk to Machu Picchu. If anything else takes my fancy, I'll try and get out and record it. But for now, this has been Jay Gets Lost. They've been some people singing, and I'll say farewell.